Hello, and welcome back to the Geek on My Sleeve channel. This is Geek Out number 79 over Watcher's Fate, which is Life in Exiles, Book 3 by Sean Oswald. And yeah, it just keeps getting better and better. Thoroughly enjoyed the book. Ready to get into our deep dive discussion. Thank you all for joining us, and subscribe, tell all your friends how great we are, and yeah. Oh, just kidding. One more button.
Yes. Glad to finally be getting into book 3. Yeah. Uh, it was fun going back through this series. I remember binging the first 3 audiobooks pretty hard back when we did the first one, which was, gosh, how long ago was it? Like, I remember we were trying to plan these out, and we're like, well, we need to at least get current with Life in Exile because we did the first 2 once upon a time. I'd have to go and look it up, but it was
I'd have
a
to
while
look
ago.
back.
Yeah. So let's see here, flipping through. I really feel that book 3, we truly get to see like the full potential of the classes and everything else, right? Geek Out 61 was when we did book 1, Watcher's Test. So we started this series, what is that, 18 Geek Outs ago? And just finally coming back to number 3. Haven't looked recently. I don't think book 4 is out yet on Audible, though it is out on Kindle. Though with as busy as Peter and I are, it's kind of hard for us to sit down and physically read books. So eagerly awaiting book 4 to come out on Audible so we can get more of our fix. But yeah, so much happens to our Nelson family in book 3, right?
Yeah, we get a little more insight into Jackson's time at the Acadium. I don't know why I can't think of the word.
Academy?
Academy. There we go.
There
That
we go.
word.
All
I was
good.
just thinking of the Arcanium series.
Yes.
Anyway,
Yes.
which that's interesting, and I don't know, this book. So I guess first off, book 1 was good. Book 2 had a little bit of a hiccup with being kind of sporadic and disjointed. Book 3, beautiful job, well done, Sean Oswald. He did a lot better with adding descriptive terms of what is going on, who is involved in the chapter, where it's happening at the beginning, as well as using that fancy title interlude for other relevant things happening.
Yeah.
The style is still a little different for me, just because I'm used to a main single viewpoint, much
Mm-hmm.
like Ascend Online does, where it's a main character and then it follows several viewpoints from, or then it adds in additional characters around the main character, and that's what we're viewing it. But this one, I, I have a new respect for it, and Sean does a very good job, and it's a different writing style than I'm used to, because it's kind of the whole everybody's their own main character, and it seems like it jumps around, but really it's keeping everything in time with what's happening with each of the individuals. So once I
Mm-hmm.
kind of put a new hat on or a new lens on for his writing style, I enjoyed it more.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Yeah, and I think we've talked about this before. It's one of the great things as you follow different writers. Both Pete and I, we do some of our own creative writing, but don't claim to be experts in the field, but it's a lot of fun watching some of our favorite authors grow and develop over time, and you can clearly see book 3, like, yeah, everything just flows so much smoother. The class systems, we get to see a lot more. Daddy Nelson finally gets his Astral Juggernaut class. Did I get that right? It's basically a
No,
magic tank. I'll look it up.
I can't think of the name of it.
Yeah, but we had pretty much everyone else.
Arcane Dreadnought,
There we go. I think that's it. But
who already had their classes. Well, other than Jackson, who I thoroughly enjoyed Jackson's class
yeah,
that he ended
yeah,
up with.
yeah. I kind of got a chuckle that he's kind of becoming a monk like our other Jackson, though. Instead of some 90-something-year-old man, we have was he 13, 14, something like
I think
that?
he came to Aloria at 13, and it's been weeks, but
Yes,
the calendar's different. But when they're
yes,
teleported, we don't know how much time or space actually passed,
this
and
is
they're
true.
in a new body. So some people have an old soul, some people have a young soul. Anyway,
Yeah. We also get to learn a bit more about the lore of the world, which is kind of cool. We know that the
so
Nelsons came from quote unquote Earth and that people are getting pulled from different time periods. Go ahead, chime in.
So, if we can talk directly on that, the beginning of the book, when we're dealing with the Watchers, we have the back and forth. And then by
Mhm.
the end of the book, our Watcher who heard the call in book 1 has since left. He's had the ability to leave and he's since left, which I see that taking, big impact turns for Aloria as we know
Mhm.
it, as well as I feel because we get kind of towards the end there. I can't remember the name of it, but the guy who teleports
You're talking about
dad.
the kingdoms or the king's mage or whatnot, one of our
No,
two. Oh,
the guy who pops up and is like, ah ha ha ha. Here's this
oh,
demon spawn. You may call it baby.
our
Play
spiderkin.
with the baby. Yeah, our Spiderkin guy. Anyway, so our
Yeah,
Spiderkin guy, the main evil villain that we don't know yet is pretty much like, I want to
the
kill everyone.
master.
I want to
The
kill everyone, and
master.
this is a job interview. And I think
I thought that
that
was
guy
pretty
was
telling too. Like the
there.
master, how all knowing is he? Could he be one of the watchers? Could he be from
Well,
Earth?
that or
Could he
heavily
be
influenced by the main watcher because I think it
mm,
probably happened before our secondary watcher came. And
okay,
since he didn't have both sides of the power to do extra stuff, it was probably just one guy. And part of the concerning factor is Dave. Dave is hearing the voices and getting very pompous and, arrogant. But on the flip
how much do
side,
you think that's an outside influence, and how much of that is just Daddy Nelson in his element, finally living out his fantasy and having the power to control his fate and everything around him like he wants to?
and that's where it's not really written out, but it's done very well. Kind of like with Mira. Oh man, on a roll. Mira at the beginning when she improves her intelligence, she's
Mm-hmm.
always multi thought processing, 8
Mm-hmm.
cores, 16 threads over here.
Right.
And it's really affecting how she does other things. So, similarly, as he's gaining in power, and it seems to be a pretty common theme for those who are in power, have a similar mentality because they're the ones who rule.
Right.
Um, so, it could just be stats based, it could
Well,
be path based, it could also be the Watcher, could also be
Just part of the world, the fact that all the nobles act that way, where
Yeah, factors of the
um,
world.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Anyway, continuing, you were on the roll with the master and our Spiderkin buddy who's been pulling the strings behind the scenes,
Or well, I guess that
pushing
was more
pushing
theory
the elves
crafting
and
for the
the
future.
nobles to team up and attack the Nelson's village. Because we have that early on, right? The elves who are upset about the circle granting Mama Nelson,
Who
you know,
associates with the Forgotten Gods
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
versus the, as we go through the story, Mama Nelson getting a treant sapling and putting it next to the temple and doing the
That
whole
was kind of
unity
cool.
kumbaya dance.
Like the Ents from Lord of the Rings. I remember going and seeing those when they first came out, staying up for like midnight showing while still being in school. Like that moment when we get to interact with the Ents and everything in Lord of the Rings. I want to say it's the second one. It's just like so epic. So like that scene there was just super cool and powerful. And I think it was like a tier 5.
Yeah.
Being like the oldest of the old. So like they just keep getting boon after boon for their little village, right? Like I'm really interested to
Yeah,
see what kind of a
but
powerhouse they become. And on top of that,
it's
with the Ents, like they're a logging village, right? So not only are they going to be like providing crazy lumber to the kingdom, which we can dive into all that with the affair and the king and his mistress and stuff later. But now they get like super awesome epic wood that can do enchantments and everything else, all that good stuff.
so that was probably the one thing I felt like was missing is it briefly talked about Mira and her enchanting, but then
Mm-hmm.
we got the magical wood that's supposed to be able to hold more of a magical charge. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, Sean, I'll give you this one. She doesn't do much in here. I would have at least liked to have seen her make one item and somebody to utilize it. Though we did do epic dungeon dive stuff and get a bunch of upgrades for everybody. But
Yes.
now you set it up
Yes.
for the potential of some seriously awesome stuff, as well as it makes sense for the progression of her class and how everything else is going on. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll forgive you. But
I think we covered it in the second one. So if you guys want to get the DL on the upcoming books, watch our live stream on number 2 because we referenced a Reddit post that he commented on where I think not the next book, but within the next couple books, maybe it was like 6, 7, and 8, they were really going to focus on the kids more, which should be interesting to see them grow. Not to mention, the youngest. You've been on a roll with names here, Pete. Our
Sarah
animal friend, Sarah. I think that's right. Um,
Jackson,
Mira,
Sarah,
Jackson, Sarah.
Mira, Dave, Lady Mirkwood. Cheated on that
I,
one.
I was about to be really impressed there, dude. Just to rattle all the names
It,
off.
it'll come to me.
Yeah, but
Mirror? No, because that's the daughter. Anyway,
mm-hmm,
everybody got significant upgrades. Um,
mm-hmm,
and so like as much as I feel like we're getting powered up and we're becoming a
right.
big thing, we're still small fish in the pond where it's good we're getting an
Yes,
opportunity to
yes, and
build
no.
up.
Because we have some guys going into tier 4, right? Like Dave Nelson's in tier 4 now, which is
Yeah.
practically unheard of. He's now stronger than the
Daiichi.
Northern General. Yeah, I was about to say the only other 2 tier 4s we know are Daiichi and Mama Nelson's bodyguard from the elves and the King's Mage.
Paladin? Oh no, the King's Mage, that's right.
Mm-hmm. So he's looking to be a powerhouse,
Yeah.
because not everybody can level up the same, which I thought was
Well,
interesting.
but what I'm meaning is this is still small fish because our mysterious evildoer showing up to twirl his mustache at every event still has, this guy who put Daddy Nelson in his place and wasn't able to do anything against, aka Spider Exoskeleton guy. Um, if he's one of his minions, how much stronger is he? As well as he is, you know, playing the political game, which is where our main group is going to successfully fail or be really good because they've got their, otherworldly views of the democracy and other things, which to some, like the people who they're bringing up with them, who they're going to power level and opportunity to send them on their way with their money and everything else, they're going to be stronger. But on the flip side, we have yeah, we've got the goblins, we've got the exoskeleton people, and yeah.
White Thatch comments, is it just me or does anyone else imagine Mira just looking like Joe, the ritualist, where she flies up and casts a bunch of spells, like if you would have taken the war ritualist? I can see it there, because she is like the elite of the elites when it comes to mages, right? Like even the king's mage was kind of getting intimidated by the number of schools of magic she can handle. And I think like when they're in the dungeon, he's like, oh, give me an hour and I can figure this out. And she's like, oh, it does this. I can just sense it.
Yeah.
And then there's been like several clutch moves where she's just, oh, I forget what the scene was, but like I think it was the time before the last when they were in the dungeon. Mama Nelson was like, run, and she was computing things at her super high speed with her intelligence, and she's like, forget this, and she like grabs the wand in one hand and it's like casting stuff, and another hand is just like, destruction.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I could see it being similar to the War Ritualist esque. I really
that would have been
like
really fun if Joe went that route.
the way that okay, so honestly, in 95% of our lit RPGs, it's a pretty common staple, but I'm still going to say it. Normally, or oftentimes, you end up with like Superman, where he's OP from the get go and can do no wrong and always
Yeah,
wins while the evil villain's doing his monologue. But we get the diversity of each of the
thanks,
classes. So,
Craig.
like,
Emily is the mom's name.
okay, thank you.
Yes, yes,
Um,
yes, yes.
we get the versatile because like you never think of a tank being a mage, and then
I think that's a big reason why we enjoy this series so much, because I know like when we had time to play MMOs, like we both were trying to break those traditional roles, and play those hybrid classes. And so to get to see that done so well in a book series like this, is incredible. And then just the simple fact that the classes have their own tier system, right?
yeah, I think it's 5 or 7, 7 in total.
Yeah.
But
Um,
so that's another interesting kind of like side tidbit is where anybody can teach anybody a spell. It's just restricted based off of what your, this it does a very good job breaking down the stats of based off
mhm.
of intelligence, you have a higher chance of succeeding. Based off of highest tier, you have a lower chance of succeeding. Based off of who's teaching it, higher chance, and so on and so forth. But
Yeah.
of course, we're living in a medieval society where they're like, no, mine, my precious, this is my stuff. So it's not working. And that's where we're going to succeed because we're going to have a tight knit, not play the political games, do well with our individual stuff, but evil overlord who's coming through has the political games of ruling by might and so on and so forth, more to throw at us.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed that aspect of the book. I've read like some books where, they just get so locked into like the ideals that it really doesn't seem that realistic. But here, we have Emily, who rightfully so, like she did a bunch of volunteer work, went to third world countries, is all about helping people, very devout in her faith. And she's like, no, like we shouldn't be lording over these people. We're no better than them, et cetera, et cetera. And then her husband's like, well, like we can't change the system overnight. Like they look to us, and what's the catchphrase, like Aloria's conflict or whatever. Like,
Yep.
so they look to their leaders and they see that strength and they want to be guided and told what to do, but like they're able to make some smaller changes, right? They're forcing the cultures, the elves and the humans, and that was a big subplot of this book, was like we're all part of the same village, same tribe, same people, like through unity, like you could see the blending of the races and their offspring, right? But they don't
Well,
just
that
go and
and
say, hey, we're holding elections tomorrow, because that would undermine everything. Like decisions need to be made. Like people need to take charge, and they can learn through the school systems, which was one thing that they did, make the schools and hospitals free. But yeah, Craig, the author, is my oldest friend and just wanted to support you guys since you are supporting him. So glad you guys like this series. Thanks, Craig. You can let him know we're having a blast with the series and can't wait for the audiobooks to get up there. Also want to check out some of his other series that I've heard recommended a little bit more for mature audiences, but I didn't see those on Audible just yet. And then White Thatch, I love the part where they got bonuses for breaking the Allurian system, and then it goes, Luria's conflict, even with Alluria. Yeah, yeah.
that's one thing this book series does really well is Aloria's conflict, and most people when they think of conflict it's in a negative light, or there can be only one Highlander stance.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's conflict with yourself, it's conflict with your environment, it's
But that's how
being the
people
best
grow,
you can
right?
be.
Yeah, challenge
Yeah.
yourself, challenge the system. And then if you're like Peter, who enjoys breaking things even when he's not getting rewarded, if the system goes and says congratulations for challenging the rules, yes, let's break some stuff. Yeah, so much fun with this book. And I was kind of going down the rabbit hole there, but one of the many reasons why I enjoy fantasy books and sci-fi books is they're able to kind of take us to other worlds like we do here in this story. And yet we deal with a lot of everyday challenges that it kind of forces the readers to walk a mile in their shoes, right? Like as we have the son Jackson, who goes and he's just so excited about going to the academy. And we get to see like back home through the rest of the Nelsons, just all the conflicts there of the different races, elves versus humans, so on and so forth. He goes to the academy level 0 and just gets bullied the whole time because he's different, right?
Well, yeah,
Um,
for all of it. And then that's
mhm.
where Sean does a really good job because we get to see, oh, as Jackson's a little older, going to the academy, but then we get to see, oh, there's a scene when Dave is talking about all the dolls that Sarah has and how, she doesn't see the race because she's changing the clothes and doing other things. And that's kind of what they're trying to do. And then that's what, Dave and Emily are doing with bringing the elves and the humans together, as well as, the, oh, I can't think of the word for the magical tree. Um, the treant
I forget
sapling,
too. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
as well as bringing it with the forgotten gods and putting those two things together, and then being like, look, see, Hilaria says it's optimal placement.
What'd you think about the interlude between the king and queen of the Elven nation that we meet, where they're kind of talking about how in the old world all the races were kind of united and everything, and how they're kind of hoping that the Nelsons can pull off the same feats.
So I don't know so much that I was thinking of that one initially. Couple big points. We towards the beginning, Dave, when we finally meet back up with him after destroying the six ogres by himself, and then he gets the book from the elf, and it's
Yeah, that
an
lore there.
amazing find, and
Hmm.
we got set up between the two books. But the passage in it where essentially it is the exile of innocence to send them to this new world,
Hmm.
as well as we end up with a separate section or excerpt where it's talking about the main exile was pushed forth by the church, but the church isn't following their own rules. So it's
Hmm.
not a direct communication with the old world, but the fact that the church still has communication with people in the other spot. And so I could easily see Stargate where things open up.
Well, there's definitely a lot of foreshadowing and potential there for new additional conflicts, right? Like
Oh yeah, we're just
Simeon, our
so
spiderling,
far
tried to
landlocked. Yeah.
recruit Nelson through the job interview. Um, Daddy Nelson is a researcher looking to like
Oh
meld
man,
magic with
so much potential.
so much potential there. Give it time, we may have flying ships before you know it. Um, the master behind the shadows, the Death Knight that respawns right before um, the end of the book there. So like we're going to have to deal with that coming up. Um, we
I don't
got
know. We've
question from Anna. What do you think of the pricing of the books on Amazon? Kindle 4.99, audiobooks, credit, or 24.95.
I think a
Um,
credit's like 15 something.
it depends on the subscription. If you a lot of the lit RPG books, and this one included, if you have the Kindle Unlimited, I want to say it's $10 a month. This is included on there, so you can read it for free. But we do the credits clearly through Audible. I want to say we found this on one of the sales. Can't remember if it was Christmas or for Pete's birthday. I'm like, we're on a lit RPG
Yeah, lit
binge. Lit
RPG
RPG in the
kick.
title. Let's check this out. New favorite lit RPG series? Yes, Victory.
Yep.
Um, and it's such a fun lit RPG concept, right? The whole family
Oh
getting
man,
pulled in.
it touches
Like
on so many good points. It's
it
got
does.
kind of like I enjoy from Brandon Sanderson, where it's got kind of like the God complex, or I guess the first couple of Send books started off that way, but didn't really finish it. And I'll talk
Mm-hmm.
about that later. But it's got the God
Mm-hmm.
complex. It's got the whole family and whole family involved. It's got
Mm-hmm.
diverse, balanced. Um,
Yeah.
class systems. It kind of takes a log horizon approach to you don't have to play by the rules, and since we have people who aren't trapped in their mindset, and we get to see
Mm-hmm.
it how how Mira can manipulate the magic, and everyone's like, "Oh no, don't do that," but she's doing it anyway. And then we get to see it with the youngest, oh, Sarah, and how she can interpret the art and how she's not constrained by the, what can art do, what is art notions.
Don't put
And
limits on yourself, right?
yeah,
Um,
there's a reason to draw inside the lines, but there's also a good reason to think outside the box.
I'm awful at coloring inside the lines. White Thatch touches on a good point that we are kind of talking about a bit earlier with how the Nelsons are still trying to color within the lines, but still think outside the box a bit. And they got a boon from the tree, right? And they had to pick, military, defender, or like
Or it
what are
was
we about? We're about our
between
people.
the three factions of Chanel. It was Redemption, which is Emily's. She's of the Redemption. Oh, Justice and Sacrifice?
So White
Can't
Thatch
remember the third
says,
one.
I'm hoping to get to see the part where they power level the entire village now
Oh,
that anybody can get up to what is level 19 or whatever. And a lot of the farmers, like at the very beginning of the book, there's only a handful of these guys that were in the single digits, right? They weren't even capped out. So the Nelsons said, hey, we're going to do things different. If you guys want to go on your way, we'll give you more money than you've ever had and make you free, not a serf. Or if you stay here, you're committing to our vision for was it Eldest Rise?
or Eris's
Error's
Rise.
Rise.
Yeah.
Um, and we're going to power level you guys. And they even get some loot that they're going to use to help them power level. And I think
Sorry.
go ahead, go ahead.
So this book takes so many elements and I'm excited about, and I hope it's done well. But he's got his own writing style and I thoroughly enjoy it. Sidestep. Divine Dungeon series has a moment similar where they can now communicate with the dungeon, and the dungeon is like, hey, I will give you crafting rooms. That way you can make stuff. I can provide resources. I just need a copy of your work, kind of deal. But then other stuff happens. I'm not going to spoil that series for you. And it was an interesting concept that didn't really get fleshed out, so I am very excited the fact that we have a sentient dungeon, more or less. We have one of our core group of people magically bound to it and is going to get wings, which is thoroughly exciting.
Oh, I can't
Um,
wait to see what Sarah turns into.
oh man, she's
She's
like,
going to be
you
a
ever think
beast.
of those like monster babies or monster toddlers where you can't have the kids outstripping the parents kind of deal? Like
Just wait.
she's stronger than Jackson was when he came back.
She's got
Like,
hops, she's got night vision, and she's about to get MFing wings.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
come on. Come on.
So
You know?
I'm excited to see her fill out, as well as just
Mm-hmm.
like the potential between the different paths the dungeons can take and the time
Yes.
dilation. Like, I think
Yes.
that's where we're gonna, yeah, I'm excited. Power
Yeah.
leveling the villagers. Uh
Oh,
man,
just
they he
imagine when those
keeps
goblins show up and
he,
these little villagers that are now like capitalizing on the elven archers bows, which they got the boon from the elven nation, and the swords to our human counterparts, with the
well,
intermixed
but that's just the
militaries,
tip of
and
the
then we
spear, because we've got
power level
potential with
up.
Mira and
I see
her
what you did there. Tip of the
enchantments.
spear.
And then we've got the boon, or well, so I thoroughly enjoy the way their abilities and powers came over from the other world, and it's always unique
Mm-hmm.
how they do that. For example, the Completionist Chronicles does it where they literally put you through testing because you
Hmm.
can't just base it off of what your physical stats are. You have to go through it because it's some of it's mind over matter and some of it's what you can physically do. Sidestep, Aloria, Life in Exile does a beautiful job where you have life experiences, but you can't unlock them until you reach a threshold level wise, tier wise, that would be comparable or equal. And anyway, so Dave has, oh, I just said ritualist. That's not what I'm thinking. Dave has research, and with the time dilation, and now we've got this epic dungeon that has never been seen anywhere before, so we definitely have a leg up.
Hmm.
And yeah, like I'm excited to see what he makes, um along with our superhuman healing powers.
Yeah.
Oh, and
Maybe,
what does
maybe,
the other side have? They've got one dwarf who poured his heart and soul out into what, four weapons was it?
I
Or
think it
not
was
three.
3. Yeah.
Yeah,
One
because
for each of the
it's, yeah,
triplets.
one of each of the triplets.
Hmm.
So I can see those posing a problem. Mira hasn't really gotten down with her enchanting, but
Yeah.
oh man, I'm excited between, yeah,
It's,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I'm ready for this epic battle, right? Not to mention the kingdom potentially imploding behind us and
You
everything.
know, I liked
Like,
the king at the beginning. In book one, I was like, my guy, this guy right
hmm,
here. And
hmm,
it almost seemed as if he was from another world, from the fact that in book one, he was talking about building roadways between all the different things and doing the
right,
trading. And I was like,
right.
okay, that's a pretty modern theory, modern idea. I'm interested. But then to have the affair and for, all the political maneuvering that we all know I don't care for, not enough combat going on in the background
Oh,
with
you don't, but I enjoy the
bastard child
political
and
intrigue and everything because like that's the real combat.
hey,
But to
yeah.
each their own. To each their own. If we can, real quick, guys, take a moment to acknowledge that Pete put on a good looking shirt for us here
Yeah,
today.
I
You know,
figured
look at that.
to
Put on a nice
change it
button up
up.
shirt for you guys. You know, he doesn't get dressed up just for anybody, but he did for you guys tonight. Um, yeah, yeah, we're getting fancy now. Thank you for the support, everybody. Um, on our road to monetization for the channel to support our audiobook reading habit. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. And yeah, now back to your normal scheduled program of Watcher's Fate, a LitRPG Saga, Life in Exile, Book 3 by Sean Oswald. And the question is life in exile because of the Nelsons or because everybody on this rock is an exile from somewhere?
Well, I think that's more the primary of it because, like I said before, when Dave gets that spell book from
The elf that he
the
saved?
elf, yeah, it's got
Yeah.
that note in the beginning saying, "Hey,
Hmm.
I fought against this," and it leads the question, why? Why are they being
Hmm.
exiled? What was really going on that you would, is this like a Dragon Ball
Purged.
Z moment where our world is under attack and we've got to shove our baby in this pod and shoot him off into space? Like, is that what's going on? Or is this some other political intrigue where, oh, those youngins and their loud music and get off my lawn, where we gotta just, hey,
Uh,
let's just, you know
there,
Kamehameha blast, or no, I guess that doesn't work. Let's
Spirit Bomb.
instant transmission them to another spot.
You know,
It doesn't quite work, but
one of these days when we go back to convert all these to actual podcasts, I'm going to have to see if there is a single
Hey,
stream we missed DBZ reference. Hey,
look at
thank you,
that.
Senpai, for an amazing series that we
Sean
enjoy so
Oswald
well.
in the not flesh internet flesh. I don't know a good way to say
Digital?
that. Digital
Yes.
space.
Yes.
Anyway, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Thoroughly enjoying the series.
Yes. Yes. Eagerly awaiting the rest of the audiobooks to come out so we can geek out on those next. Um, but yeah, it's getting real interesting.
So much potential. I'm
Yes.
excited. As well as like there's a couple. So we haven't seen any dwarfs yet.
No,
Or
we
or
got
we've
the
got the
adventure.
treasure. We've got the
Yes.
treasure hunter,
Hmm.
which is a dwarf, and then we have the interlude of the dwarf preparing the weapons and his heart and soul for the
And we got
goblins.
a bit of the Dwarven Nation ramping up at the end. So it was one of our interludes towards the end there that they were going to go out and claim the whole mountainside. Um, it happened, promise.
Okay, okay.
But yeah.
Book
Uh,
4. Oh,
yeah, Sean Oswald, book 4 coming. Audio got delayed, complete with more Jackson. I
I
can't wait to see more of his class.
yeah, I'm excited about it because it's yet again like so differently unique. Like, yeah, I thoroughly enjoy Dave's where it's a magic based tank, but
Hmm.
the way that Jackson kind of it's not really a berserker rage, but negates damage based off of his emotional state and just
Hmm.
like the idea of kids being put into situations and more or less having to grow up rapidly as well
Right.
as being instilled with your morals and values from a whole different world and then coming into it and like I'm excited for the monk stuff.
Yeah, and I want to come back to talk a bit more about Jackson, but even Emily, who of all of them seems to be struggling the most with it, which makes sense. Like she wasn't a gamer where Dave was, so he jumped in with both feet. Like she even had a moment with Sarah where she's like, well, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the one struggling to change and adjust to this new world and accept it, which there's a bit of it, but Dave rightfully comes back. He's like, well, like she completely wandered off. If even if she got in a car with one of your friends back home, wouldn't you still be upset with her? So on and so forth.
Well,
But like,
that's one thing I
go
thoroughly
ahead.
enjoy of Sean's writing is nobody's perfect and Dave and Emily's relationship feels real.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's book 2 where it's referenced where mm, or maybe it's 1. Anyway, so it talks about one of their counseling sessions that somehow they manage not to both be in crisis mode at the same time. So when
Mm-hmm.
one's struggling, the other one balances it out. And it's just like being that in tune with someone, as well as, sticking to your morals and values and being able to read the cues for, oh, they're
Mm-hmm.
not saying much, but I know there's more to be said. And as well as it progressively works on the problem or progressively you know, deals with it. Kind of like we talked about before of them trying to do the democracy, but they can't hold elections right now. So more instilling their ideals or how
Mm-hmm.
uh, Sarah doesn't see the difference between the races and all that.
Yeah. Where we leave off with Jackson is he was when he first went to the academy, he was level 0, right? And then to curry some favor, the church paid for Jackson to come home for some holiday,
Hmm.
and we get another priestess, um, the general of the North, his son, who's actually a good friend of Jackson.
West?
Maybe it's West, but So he was level 0, constantly getting picked on. I know we've talked about it before, but I love how there's qualifiers to getting these classes. And because of the way Jackson handled it along those paths, like defending someone else, like taking, excruciating beatings, et cetera, he got on this path for the monk class. And now that he's gone back to the academy is where we leave off in book 3.
Was
He's
he
now one of the
level 15?
strongest
Yeah.
guys. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, looking forward to that. Going to watch for the release dates there. What are some other fun things about book 3 that we haven't
Uh,
touched on yet? Like, you got your
all
fair
right, so
share of action,
let
right?
me just verbally process here. So we start off and we get attacked by the humans, and then a little later we get attacked by the elves, and we
Mm-hmm.
know, oh, the master, man behind the curtain. Thoughts? Sorry, sidestep. Thoughts on Jackson's gloves? I would have to pull that up. You remember his gloves?
Well, we know that with the monk, he has to um, do hand-to-hand combat, right, to get his
Or
specialties.
yeah, it's unarmed, but I remember he got some epic loot from the dungeon run.
Right. I remember the axe. Um, oh, can you remind us, Sean, about his gloves? Um,
Uh, I
so
I feel like Jackson, not specifically the gloves, because I'm gonna try to find stuff on that, but Jackson got set up pretty well, where
mhm.
a lot of the resources, or was it from the tree sappers quest that we
Mhm.
got
So I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah. The elves sent them
Okay.
piercing gloves. They are named after the monk from old EQ group, EverQuest.
Oh,
That
is that the conversation with the elf where he's like, a lot of people don't like to use it because they respect the dead and the fact that it's got a part of the soul more or less infused with it?
Yeah, I think
Uh,
so. Man, EverQuest was a little bit before our time. We came in on the WoW bandwagon. Um,
Oh,
so
okay. Now I remember. I'm excited. They take a portion of his XP, so I'm excited for the evolving weapon style thing, as well
mm,
as did he have him going into the dungeon? Yeah, because he got him during the ceremony with the tree incident, and then they went into it.
mhm,
So okay, I guess I forgot about that. I so
yeah.
maybe that is the voice he's been hearing
Oh,
because
that
that would make sense
explains a
because it's
lot. The jump left. Oh, I
because
didn't
it's
put that
got
together.
XP and kind of like how when they're brought to Aloria, they're not able to use their full potential or their previous stuff until they reach a certain tier. But that could be exciting because the gloves take a portion of the XP, them developing him. I don't know the best way to say it, his Tom or Betty
Uh,
right along.
Pure Sung is certain victory in Korean. I did not know that. And while we're on the subject of it, when I went ahead and did the Pearsong search, it pulled up one of the quotes from the beginning of the chapters. The quotes at the beginning of each chapter in the series, Sean, are a lot of fun. I know Peter and I like to collect quotes, and there's just so many good ones from this. But there's one from the biography of Pearsong where it says, "Some days you have a plan and everything seems to be working. Other days the veil is pulled back and you see how truly control is just an illusion.
Yeah, yeah, there were a
Yeah.
lot of great stuff. I think the other one that I enjoyed was all the way at the beginning, how the very uh choice is an illusion, or so one teacher or one teaches one philosopher, while another has all his followers believe that there are simply the sum of their choices, and it goes on. But yeah, I enjoy the philosophy and the quotes,
And
and
I enjoy my illusions of control. Thank you. So,
yeah.
White Thatch, I'm wondering if they'll use the time dilation in the dungeon to age Sarah so that she can unlock her class.
I don't think
Doesn't
it
it?
works like that.
Well,
It's backwards.
because it's accelerated inside and everything else is moving
Is it
slower.
accelerated or compressed?
Mm,
Because I don't think I don't feel like it works that way.
mm. Sean says even the arch villain is revealed in one of the book one quotes.
Oh man.
Time to go back and re-listen to book one, guys, but
I
no
need to
spoilers.
get better about gathering the
Oh
quotes.
man. Hey Sean, we can't thank you enough for hanging out with us during this stream. Um, really loving the series so much. And yeah, appreciate the input. Um, guys, if you haven't already, definitely go check out the series. Pick up a Kindle Unlimited subscription. You can read it on there. The audiobooks are fantastic, a lot of fun. Um, yeah, I'm excited. I remember reading when one of Sean's Reddit posts. It's going to be a long series, and maybe you can correct me or comment on this. But if we're doing Jackson Moore this next book, I think if I'm remembering right, we'll rotate through the other kids after that. Um, yeah, another lit RPG fan of ours, White Thatch. Um, so much fun. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
sorry. You were verbally processing all the epicness in this book. We have the noble,
Humans. Oh,
yeah, the noble and the elf um going through and attack the village. So we got to see how they individually couldn't hold up against the defenders, where the defenders had the melded um military groups.
yeah, and as well as there's a quote there. I'm hoping I'm not butchering it, but it's talking about how that battle will be remembered, and sets them on the path of the elves excel with the bows and the magic, and the humans
Mm-hmm.
excel with the hand to hand. But
Mm-hmm.
after our tree blessing for bringing everyone together, people inside our group no longer have the penalties of their race. Or, well,
Yeah.
sorry, the elves don't have the penalties, and then the humans get the benefit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, we're so much potential. I'm excited.
Yeah. We had several dungeon dives, so you got your action fix there. Got to
And
see our dungeon grow.
it wasn't always super easy. Like, I, yeah.
They're getting there on the power level, but you can honestly say that nobody's quote OP, right?
Well, the fact that there's always more than meets the eye, so to speak. Like, our first, well, I guess I'm probably going to get them out of order. Our first foray, where it's, the Tomb of David Nelson, we just barely get in there with Mira. And then,
Mm-hmm.
good thing we could phase out and we get a little glimpse at the time dilation. And then, as it develops and other things going on, and then even the first dungeon dive in this book, where Emily's going, and Mira, and oh, I'm curious to see more of the Minotaurs,
I
but we
was
got
just
our
about to say that, like, ever since Dragonlance, where I want to say it's like the War of the Souls. Like, I'm a sucker for some good old heifer bull action right there. So and is calling the kids, cows all the time. I just some good laugh out loud moments. I'll take care of your heifer as if she was my own.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
As
I'd
well
love to learn more
as,
of his story too.
oh man, just putting this together. So during one of the dungeon dives, Mira picks up the pups, and now we have
Mm,
them, which is another one of
yeah, our wolf pigs.
the complexes of dungeons, because the dungeon drake can come out because of the bond with Emily,
Hmm.
but she's trying to figure out how to have other creatures come out as well. I'm not sure
Mm,
if their food source was kind of partially altered or not really altered. Um, yeah, we end up with a lot of different, completely new world variables.
yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
excited to see if they bring some of the pig wolf back, if the dungeon drake is able to make a further leap in bringing other
Think about the
sentient.
production boon there if they kept them with the time dilation, the extra stuff they could get done there. Not to mention just like the research
Yeah.
and the training, right?
I'm excited for the power leveling, to see the quest lines and the boss monsters through the individual tiers. Uh, yeah, the potential for Dave and his research. Mira hasn't
Hmm.
really, we haven't really seen her enchant much, and I guess she's still low tier, but now we got that magical wood, and yeah, yeah.
We got what?
The
Um,
extra, oh, what is it? The endurance stat?
oh yeah.
Anyway,
It's PG, maybe PG 13 at times, but
I
for
would
the mature
say
audiences,
PG
you could
because
get the chuckle.
I think as a kid, it's good to see a healthy relationship. So
Yes,
being close, I would consider.
yes, yes, but nothing
And of
outright.
course, Mira, is slowly growing up to it, because at the beginning it was like, get a room. And now it's like, okay, we get it. You got a moon up wife. So,
Craig says I'll try to get Sean to eventually add a man bear pig. Yes, yes. Maybe they're across the sea when we finally get to meet them, hanging out
well,
with our spiderkin, the man bear pigs.
and that's just, the dungeon itself has so much more to learn, because when Dave's interacting with it, he says it's basically a child, because it went from a beast to sentient or dungeon core to being a friend and having it expand that way, and
Well, it learns
then
so much from Sarah, right? Like even after
yeah,
it, Sarah, when she, and I really enjoy how Sean writes about that. Like even from Sarah's perspective, she's so used to not being able to move stuff and do things, so she tries something different and bonded with the dungeon. And when that happened, the dungeon learned so much more, like about friendship and everything else. So, yeah, yeah, a lot of potential there.
all right. The line of thought is Sarah had the dungeon core mind telepathing. Emily had the tree mind stuff go on.
Mm,
Jackson has the voices in his head, and then Dave has the uh, ego complex. I don't know how to say it. I'm not
yeah,
saying it
yeah,
very well,
yeah.
but he has the voice as well. So they
Mm-hmm.
all somewhat have a internal monologue, or
See, Pete, you're not the only
voices in
one
your
that has
head are
voices
completely
in your
okay.
head talking to you. It's perfectly okay. It just
Yeah.
means that,
Live
um,
life in exile and it'll be
yeah,
fine.
just keep living your values. Eventually, the other requirements for your class will become known to you, and you just have to channel that energy hard enough, and you'll be able to see your stat sheet. So keep living the good life. We're all caught up in some virtual reality known as life. And yeah. Thanks for being here with us on your Sunday evening, leveling up your geek on my sleeve, faction cred, and grinding out those skills. And yeah, well, go on, Pete.
So this is a personal preference, and we know I have a problem, but I really enjoy the
More than one.
classes, the development, all of that. But one thing, in my opinion, take it for what you will, Dungeon Lord, another series that's a lit RPG, does well is at the very end of the book, it has a data dump because it Sean, this is a good one for introductory or people who aren't super lit RPG or stats heavy,
100%.
and he does a good
100%.
job of that. And that also gives him flexibility to manipulate and change the spells and the abilities as, you know, Mira does quite frequently. I would like a stat sheet, I guess is what I'm saying, trying to get to.
I agree
But
with all that,
yeah.
though. We have read lit RPG books that it could be too much. Like
Well,
the
yeah,
data dumps
I'm
can be
not
too
saying
much.
change the writing style, stats, but I'm saying
I hear you. It'd be fun to get a cursory glance of like where the whole Nelson family is at the end of the book. Um, because stuff like that's always helpful when you're jumping back into the next book, right? Not everybody will go and re-listen to a whole series like we will before picking up the next book, which is why everyone should continue to harass Peter to work on
to
getting
work on
the
those WTF,
WTF without
which
the feels
yeah, which
data
stands for
dumps
without the
of
feels.
the books that he keeps talking about. So keep that fancy shirt
Yeah.
and record us some videos, okay? Um, Sean said, I just wrote the prologue of book 5 last night. It is
Mm,
essentially a history of the races. Some more to come about that.
that's exciting because we got the
Ooh.
tantalizing when they first came to Aloria and them talking about how, oh, or Dave specifically talking about how he didn't want to have, you know, get in trouble with his wife about having their kids be halflings, and then the irony
Yes.
of
She
the
picks
wife
she picks a cleric ninja elf.
or elf, yeah.
Do we get to learn about the man bear pigs in the prologue of book 5? Um
But yeah, there were Spiderkin and other things, and we
mhm.
got to see a little bit of that, and that's where things are weird too, because the Spiderkin or the guy with the exoskeleton is native to Aloria,
But not that continent.
but well, yeah, and that's another thing. We're just
Yeah.
landlocked to where we are now, but
Mhm.
are elves native? Because I think they're part of the exiles and it talks about why they don't respect
Oh,
the anyway. I'm excited. I enjoy these kind of details as well as
yes.
like
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
More lore, please. We love the lore.
And
Thank you,
we're
Sean, for the
also
amazing series and hanging out with us as we geek out and gush over your books. Go ahead, Pete.
we yeah,
Yeah.
forgot what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
All right.
So we do our best to try to keep these parties to about an hour or so, that we could talk all day about these books. Um, what else have we not covered yet, Pete? I know there's a lot we didn't get to. So much happened.
Mm-mm-mm.
Our village has really grown. War is on the horizon to come next spring from the goblins. Um, yeah. Yeah. So much epic goodness, so much fun. Um, yeah,
Mm, sorry. Bouncing around.
all good.
Yeah, like there's so much I'm excited for going forward. Because in another series that I'm not going to name at the moment, but anyway, in another series, there's more. I guess. Okay, sorry. So, Watcher's Fate right here. There are Mira learns like a maid spell, so she doesn't have to clean up after herself. In a separate series, there's like Gentle Rain, which to help with the crops, and Sean references farmers being able to move the dirt or earth with a spell. So I'm very interested because
The
Dave
utility spells.
has the oh brain fart research ability, and he
Mm-hmm.
has his previous understanding of technology, and then how much of it really matters when beep beep magic. So
Beepity beep magic and
yeah.
science collide. Find out more next book. Is this the week where we're going to try to double up, Pete?
So normally and or as of currently, we have been doing one Geek Out live stream on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Going forward, you're welcome. We are now going to be doing a Wednesday stream at 7 p.m.,
Eastern.
continuing with our Sunday stream at 5 p.m. Wednesday stream is subject to change. We have been very successful for Sunday. Um, it's a fine balance between I could talk about books all day, every day, and whether people are available. Sundays typically I guess in if I'm being generalizing,
For them
Monday,
normies that
yeah,
work
nine
Monday
to
through
five,
Friday,
yeah.
we understand Sundays are your time to kick back, relax, and we enjoy the fact that those normies choose to come and unplug with us. And we geek out over the books. But we've just accepted the fact that we want to talk about more than 52 books in a year. So we're going to try this for a little bit, double up. And
Wednesday, 7, no, sorry, 5 p.m.
nope, Wednesday,
Or,
7
yeah,
p.m.
7. So, okay. Anyway, I had it right first time. Wednesday, 7 p.m., Geek Out 80 is going to be over Brandon Sanderson's book, Firefight, Reckoner Book 2, kind of a loose, spoiler free thing. The the Reckoner series is if people got superpowers, but everybody who got superpowers was super villains. It is technically YA, and yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying the series. There, it is a 3-book series. We've already done book 1. I don't remember the number of that one.
Yeah.
Uh, sorry, what was that?
Um, the Steelheart was Geek Out 77.
Okay, so not too far.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Reference number 77 if you want to listen to that first. This Sunday, we're going to Firefight.
Or
Super
no, this
pumped.
is when Wednesday's
Well,
firefight,
Wednesday.
and then when
Getting
you guys
ourselves all
are
mixed up.
all going to be here, we're going to be doing a Child of Daystar by Bryce O'Connor. Uh,
Yes.
we found out about Bryce O'Connor through a collaboration. He actually, much like Sean did here, thank you, Sean. He popped up in our A Mark of Kings, who, yeah. Anyway, so we're doing justice to Bryce O'Connor here. It's
It's a lot of fun.
yeah. If
I
I
mean, go ahead.
oh could I spoiler free this?
Try it. We believe in you.
So Dragonborn, but er okay, so I think this actually falls on Father's Day. And if you know anything about us and our dry humor, honestly, most of these weren't planned, but for Father's Day, we're going to be covering a adopted, whole family was killed orphan, more or less.
Sure.
Yeah, so I okay, tag. I keep wanting to say things, but it's not really spoiler free at that point.
All right. I'll do my best. So, um, dragonkin and humans coexist. As I was going through and listening to this the first time, I was very much thinking, like, wow, this is pretty much the book that every young boy wants to read, because what's more epic than a dragon humanoid raised by humans and getting to see all of his awesomeness as he becomes this epic warrior, and yeah, kind of takes on the world. And the foreshadowing that you get in the first book and the little excerpts at the beginning just leads you to believe just how awesome this series is going to get. And go ahead.
Or I'm interested how true to the beginning excerpt it sticks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Going to be a lot of fun. Those are the next two. Real quick before we go, Craig said, just a little insight. Sean writes his friends and families into his books, as well as inside jokes. He references Bishop Elliot Clifford, which was our youth pastor in high school. My EQ character was Toad Yuso.
I thought I really was waiting for Toad to say your princess is in another castle, but different reference.
Yeah.
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 That's awesome.
Thank you, Sean, for keeping the main cast to fairly easily remembered names.
This is
as
true.
well as keeping true to the authenticity of the elven race and the dwarven race and the minotaur, and
yeah, and the man bear pig people. Just kidding. Yeah, a lot of fun. Looking forward to book 4. Thanks everybody for taking time out of your Sunday to geek out with us over the Life in Exile series. Watch our social media. Make sure to subscribe. As soon as we see book 4 come out, we're going to do our best to work it in. And as long as we get people to keep geeking out with us during our times, we're going to try to keep up with twice a week and see how it goes. It does mean, unfortunately, Peter and I might only be able to listen to the book 2 or 3 times instead of the 6 or 7 times before we geek out about it. So, yeah, bear with us.
Feel free to jump in and help me with names, because I did pretty good on this one, but
you did.
I will need help with names.
I did. I think it's the shirt. We should try the shirt again and see if it helps with the names.
Yeah, I've got a what is it? It's like
what's
magenta.
the stat? The stat boost on that, is it increased intelligence and name recognition on that shirt? We'll have to get the dwarf to kick it and get the stats off that guy. So it's been a pleasure. Thanks again, Sean, Craig, White Thatch, Anna, for your contributions in the chat. Peter and I could talk about this stuff all day, but it's nice to have other people to join in the dialogue. And then, as always, hop on our Discord and keep the conversation going. And yeah, what
Yeah,
else I forget, Pete?
I think we have about a month, maybe a little more scheduled out on. So if you go to the YouTube channel, you can see live streams scheduled, as well as we do stuff in Discord for that.
Mm-hmm.
Going to try to keep a month out. That way you guys can read them ahead of time. If there's anything you would like to incorporate or like us to cover, White Thatch has been good. He said that we got him into LitRPG, which is amazing. I think he might be passing us up because we keep getting caught in other genres. But yeah.
Hey now. I love lit RPG just as much as you, but my fantasy and sci-fi roots do call out to me. And yes, yes. I mean, come on. Brandon Sanderson doesn't have any lit RPG books yet.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
but yeah, could
yeah.
kind of be considered. Anyway,
Uh, yeah.
anyway,
Thanks, everybody.
I hope to geek
Hope you
out with you
guys.
here soon.
Bye.
Bye.